either you're psycho or she's psycho or you're both psycho, not quite sure which one. Pretty stupid for even living here in the first place. Sometimes I do. I don't know about Matt. I feel pretty dumb. Hey guys, so I decided to make a video about our housing experience at Castlegate Apartments and why I don't recommend living there, and just a story time renter's worst nightmare video. Just something to keep in the back of your mind so that you know when to look for red flags and just how to handle these kinds of situations. So when we moved into Castlegate, it was November 2014. It was the middle of the month. It was the 14th, and after we had signed our lease, we were heading out to go see our apartment, and Adorable, our property manager, had just happened to be walking through, so we got to meet her. And the first thing she said when she shook our hand and learned what apartment we were going to was that she remembers that apartment because the last person that lived there, things between her and the tenant had gotten so bad that they could only communicate through attorneys. And that was, you know, kind of like our initial red flag. We go and we look at our apartment and everything kind of checks out, you know, looks fine. We do our walkthrough. She gives us our check-off list, and writing they give you a list, and basically what you have to do is write down all the damages that are already there when you moved in. So I took pictures and then I also wrote it all down. And there was a lot. I mean, like, our tile on our fireplace was cracked, our counters were chipped, there was scratches on our appliances. I mean, this place is old. It's from the 70s, so, you know, evidently there's, like, paint where it shouldn't be because they don't paint them very well, and they just, they don't put in time and effort. They just kind of fix things to fix them and not to actually, like, improve them and like fix them, but they just kind of temporarily fix it in hopes that they don't have to deal with it for a couple more months. And the agent who was helping us, her name was Nellie, she walked through, she checks our garbage disposal, and it doesn't turn on. And so she flips it a couple more times, and finally it turns on, and she's like, oh, okay, it's fine. Well, for the next 2 years, our garbage disposal only would work if you flipped the switch a million times and hit the reset button, and it was the most annoying, frustrating thing because it didn't properly work. So I fill out that sheet, I take other pictures, I give them everything, and then it was fine, but the sheet took me forever to fill out because there was just so many, like, little things here and there that, like, there's a crack here, there's a wheel missing on our dishwasher, there's just a ton of little things. I was like, I'm not getting charged for this when I move out. And so I hand that in. Months go by, and our patio door starts falling apart. So it doesn't slide properly. Something was wrong with the wheel. I really don't know. And it wouldn't open. So the door just wouldn't slide open. And eventually, because it was so hard to slide open, the handle broke off because it's made out of cheap plastic. And so the handle ended up completely falling apart, and there was no handle. So where the handle should have been, there was actually just a hole to the outside. And then on top of that, because our door wasn't sliding and closing properly, it was crooked, and so it wasn't weatherproof. So, like, here's the handle side of the door, and then here's, like, the second, you know how there's, like, two pieces of glass? So you have, like, the door goes over, and then this piece goes that way. So, like, right here where the two pieces meet in the middle, there was a gap. And so when the snowstorms would come, we would get snow piling up inside our apartment because it would come through the gap in between the two windows. And then on top of that, you know, we would get bugs that would come in not only through that gap, but then through, like, that hole that was there for the handle. And we had it taped for a while, but then, you know, if we wanted to try and open the door for whatever reason, you know, we couldn't open the door at all. Even if we wanted to try and use our patio, it was really difficult. So we had to take the tape off in order to be able to hold the hole where the handle was and, like, lift and push out the door. And so we put in a work request for it, and it got ignored, never got taken care of. We put in another work request for it, got ignored, never got taken care of. We put in a third request for it, and they come, set up an appointment to fix it, and then it snowed the day that they were supposed to come and fix it, and they never called us to reschedule or anything. So I totally understand like not working in the snow, especially on a door, like I get it. And this was like a pretty bad snowstorm. This was when we had like several feet of snow. So I understand like not working on the door, and I wasn't upset about that, but I was upset about the fact that they just kind of blew it off and never addressed it again. So once again, the door was unfixed. Come August, I think it was this last August, it was like July or August, we had been babysitting for Matt's aunt, and she got home pretty late, and so we didn't get home till about like 1:30, 2 o'clock, and we were just sitting there talking, just trying to unwind and, you know, decompress so we can go to bed. You know, we always make sure to lock our door before bed, but we don't really like think to lock our door while we're home and awake necessarily, because everyone that lives on our floor is like super old, and our entire building is actually really mostly just older people. The guy across from us is retired. The couple next to him is in their like 50s. At the time, I think Mary had already left by then. Mary was really old too. She was Section 8. And then the guy next to us now, he can't even like drive, and he walks with a cane and stuff. So, you know, we don't really ever think like, oh, our neighbors are gonna rob us. And that wasn't the case at all. But what happened was that we were sitting there, and this guy who had previously come to our apartment multiple times thinking that someone lived here that, I don't know, maybe it was like a girlfriend, maybe it was someone he knew, I don't know who he's looking for, maybe he lived here at one point, I don't know. But he comes to our apartment, and he opens the door, and he starts walking in, and I'm not fully dressed, like, so I'm like, oh my god, you know, and Matt like slams the door, and he's like, and the guy starts knocking. He starts knocking, and Matt goes, you have 10 seconds to leave before I make you leave, like, you need to go now. And the guy keeps knocking, and then finally he leaves, and our neighbor had heard all the ruckus, and so he called the police, and the police showed up, and we're just filing out a report, talking about the incident, just kind of chit-chatting with the cop at this point, and he at one point mentions that he asks if Adorable is still working here, and we tell him, yeah, Adorable is still the property manager. And he goes, oh, okay, well, she has been asking residents not to comply with the police. So our neighborhood has like a safe neighborhood policy, basically, where if you commit a crime, a violent crime or a drug-related crime of some sort, and you are charged and arrested on the property multiple times, then you get evicted. And on the one hand, I understand like how that can be controversial because everyone needs a place to live. On the other hand, we are supposedly a family community, and so I understand the importance of maintaining safety for the families and children around. Our leasing office tries to do like community events and make this very family friendly, and so it's just kind of a confusing message. You know, on the one hand, you don't want people complying and you don't want a safe neighborhood, and you're making it really hard for police. On the other hand, you're doing family events like spaghetti dinners and field days to try and get, you know, attract community, you know, families and kids. So that was kind of like the final straw for me when he said that. I just saw no reason for it, you know. I just didn't understand why you would tell residents not to comply with the police. I just thought that was extremely unsafe. And so I posted a status about it, and a friend of mine had commented that her boyfriend's grandma had gotten jumped at some point here. And I also recollected when I had gone to get my hair done the previous October, November, so almost like a year before that. The girl that was doing my hair had lived here like 2 or 3 years prior, and she had witnessed a drug deal go bad and this guy running out of her apartment, you know, building with a gun. And she was like 13 or 14 when that happened. And so, you know, that was kind of just like, okay, you know, this really isn't what it's cracked up to be. And I'm a review writer. I read a lot of reviews, so I like to write the reviews as well, you know, because if I'm going to take other people's, you know, experiences, why not share mine as well? So fast forward to September, we were asked to renew our lease. We got a letter that said, you know, please renew your lease. In the letter it even says, like, we'll either ask you not to renew or to renew, and then later on asks us to renew. So, you know, we go in, we sign our lease, everything's good, we put in another request for the door. We explain about the snow, everything. Like, I told her literally how long it's been that we've had this issue, everything. And she tells us, you know, how it's like $68,000 to replace a door, so sometimes they're hesitant. And I was like, I get that, but no one's even come and looked at it. Like, that's the thing. No one's even come and looked at the door. So she puts the request in, and she's apologetic, and The next morning, literally before they even open, we get an email saying that it's been done and taken care of. No one came to our house, okay? I can look at the door and see that it's not fixed. I can see the hole where there should be a handle, and I can't open it. So obviously no one has looked at the door or fixed it. And so again, it goes completely ignored. And at this point, I am just livid. I am fed up. I am frustrated. I'm like, what? Like, we literally have asked 5 or 6 times to get this thing fixed. It lets all our air out. It lets bugs in. It lets any weather condition in, rain, snow. It gets dewy really badly. Like, it's just super frustrating and inconvenient. Our dog's kennel is right there, and she can get extremely cold, and so it's hard for us because the other place that we had our kennel made her anxious when she was by the door because she couldn't see the door when it opened, because like if you open the door, her kennel is like on the back side, so it like swings like this to her kennel, and that she didn't like that. The only other place to put her kennel was by the patio door that lets all the elements in. So I was just really frustrated. I was like, what are we gonna do this winter when this door's not fixed? And you know, what are we gonna do with Lucy? Like, we're gonna have to put her in our room or something. And she moves around at night a lot, so it's hard to sleep, and I was just getting really frustrated. Like, it was just a crappy situation. But I didn't say anything at this point because I was like, you know what, screw it. They're just not going to get it done. Like, I just know they're not going to get it. Thank God we signed a 6-month lease instead of a year so we can just get out of here. Okay, so fast forward to the first week of October. October 5th, I get a call from our property manager, Adorable. Tap it, and you can even see the thing. So let me go ahead and put it on speaker so you can hear it.
Hi, Julia. This is Adorable Mitchell calling from Castlegate Apartments. Can you please give me a call at your earliest convenience? I'm recently just reviewing the review that you wrote, and actually I'm 110% shocked and surprised and unaware of your problems, and I would love to discuss it with you. Would you please give me a call at your earliest convenience at 303-420-1575? I will be out of the office the rest of today, but you can call me anytime on Thursday or Friday of this week. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, so that was on the 5th. And several hours later, a maintenance man comes and he fixes our door within 20 minutes. Which was like, I was super happy that our door got fixed, and I was like ready to reprimand my review. I was gonna just like, you know, maybe do 3 stars instead of 1 and say that the place is decent. So I was ready to reprimand my review, and I was gonna call her back the next day. And so I called the next morning and no one answered, and I didn't want to leave a voicemail on just like the general Castlegate voicemail because I just wasn't sure if this was appropriate for just anyone to hear. I don't know who checks those messages. Because it's just their general phone number. And so I was like, well, I won't leave a voicemail on this one. So I tried to go find an email for her on their website, and there is literally no email, no extension, no way to personally contact Adorable unless she gives you personal contact information. And the phone number she gave me was just the general Castlegate number. So, you know, I had stuff to do on Thursday, and I ended up not having time to call her later on that day. So I just planned on calling her on Friday. So I go to nanny, and then I had to go straight to babysitting, so I had no time to go home, and I left the house around 2:30, and then Matt got home from golfing probably around like 6 or 7, and he calls me while I'm babysitting, and he says, so we have a problem. There's a notice on the door saying they're not going to renew our lease. At first I was kind of shocked. I was like, what do you mean? Like, we already signed our lease. We already renewed it. It's done. Like, we took care of that a month ago. And he was like, well, they're not renewing our lease. And there's a notice on our door. And so I hit panic mode at that point because they gave us 30 days to find a new place to live. In the Denver market, to have 30 days to find another place to live when you have nothing saved up for deposits and stuff is absolutely petrifying. So I was extremely panicked. And I was really frustrated because she didn't mention it in the voicemail yesterday. And in fact, she didn't mention it at all. And, you know, that's not something you send out that day and not know the day before. That, you know, these kinds of things like evictions and renewals, you know, anything with your lease, this is like in the works. This is something that they have been planning and working on for days, if not weeks. And so it's like, why didn't you mention this? Or maybe say something, or, you know, nothing. She hadn't said anything about it, and then just ironically, the next day they're not renewing our lease anymore, even though they had already asked us to sign a renewal. In the paper we said that said we're not renewing your lease, they gave us no reasoning for it. And so I basically am at a point where I am 99% sure it's because of this review, because obviously they had already asked us to renew our lease, and if it had been any other reason, they clearly wouldn't have asked us to renew our lease in the first place. So I just thought that was really shady and dirty, and probably like the final reasoning as to why I would say not to live here, because, you know, not only is it not the safest community, it's not well kept, they don't really care for the residents, a lot of the grass is like soaking wet and it's more swamp than grass, and so it's disgusting. You don't even want to walk in the grass because you never know if you're going to step in dry grass or get your shoes soaking wet, so you don't ever walk in the grass. That's useless. The maintenance is terrible, the apartments are not well maintained. Sometimes they get remodeled, sometimes they don't. Ours didn't, so everyone around us had a nicer apartment than we did, and we were still paying top dollar. Overall, it's really crappy. Like, it's just, if you're desperate for a place to live, they're not, you know, you're not gonna die if you live here, but just don't expect a pleasant experience. You know, don't expect to walk out of here with your deposit money and a smile on your face, you know, saying that was the greatest renting experience of my life. Life lesson, basically, I would say for anyone who is going to rent or be in these kinds, you know, or be a first-time renter, know your rights as a renter, because had I known that this is the way she likes to take care of things, I probably would have pushed that door legally more, because it was considered uninhabitable after I had read through the law, and so what she was doing by ignoring our door was 100% illegal. It's because we had given written notice multiple times, and we have emails that confirm that we had given notice and had never gotten taken care of. So just make sure you record everything. Keep every single paper they give you. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you don't feel comfortable with your leasing office, move. It's not worth it. To get blindsided like this was really, like, crappy. Fortunately for Matt and I, you know, we got on it right away that night. We started looking for apartments. We have several prospects right now we're just looking into. Or we should be okay to move by the 6th, but it's just been extremely stressful this whole month, because honestly, we still don't have a place guaranteed to live until we get an approval from somewhere and we get all our paperwork done and we have our keys. Like, we don't have anywhere to live, so it's very frustrating, and I don't want anyone to ever have to experience this like we did. So if you live in the Arvada area, if you ever plan on living in the Arvada area, I definitely recommend staying away from Castlegate. Their low pricing is extremely tempting. However, I'll tell you, it's almost not worth it. Like, the trouble that they put you through is not worth the cheap price. You really do get what you pay for, and because you're not paying anything, you don't get anything. And to say you're not paying anything, like, you're still paying $880 for a one-bedroom that is not remodeled, not taken care of, and for maintenance staff that doesn't care, and for, you know, a leasing office that really just doesn't care. We'll definitely keep all our friends and family posted as far as, like, our living situation and what we'll be doing. But I'm excited. This is going to be a new chapter. A lot of people have told us to pursue this legally, and, you know, that we probably have a pretty strong case right now, but I, 1, don't know if we do. 2, I'm sure there's some loophole they can find. And 3, at this point, we have to move in 30 days. If we wanted to press charges or whatever the terms are, you know, if we wanted to make this like a legal case, it would be months and months of just drawn out stress that is not worth it to me. So, although we appreciate the advice from a lot of people to go ahead and, you know, do that, it's just not worth it to us. It's not worth the stress. It's not worth the drawn out amount of time, and honestly, we just want to find a place to live and call home. So that being said, if anyone does have suggestions of places for us to look at that, you know, have open availability, let us know, because the more places we can look at, the better. You know, that way we can really guarantee we'll have some options. I never recommend living in Castlegate. It was a terrible experience. If anything, we just really ask for lots of well wishes right now, thoughts, prayers, good vibes, whatever you believe in. We're just really rooting for some positivity on our side while we get through this mess, this jumble. If we did decide to pursue this legally at all, and that's a very, very, very far-fetched concept, but if we really did decide to do that, it wouldn't even be until after we move anyways. So we will keep you guys posted. But yeah, there you guys go. So that's our little housing nightmare life update. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day.